Hello, my friends, and welcome to Rick Reads. Today we'll be continuing The Demon with Chapter 24. Victor paced in his office at the church, trying to formulate a plan. Erin sat in a chair across from his desk, still shocked by the unexpected turn of events. She had thought she would be completely alone in her endeavor, never once thinking she would need help, or even get it. She was content to simply improvise all of it. But now that she had the aid of this man, Victor, she felt as if the task was becoming much simpler. She even began to come up with a new, less murderous idea of convincing Stacy that Dante had been unfaithful all the way. She could act as if she were the other woman, and that when she found out Dante had another woman, one pregnant with his child, she was forced to break it off with him and come immediately to tell Stacy about her unfaithful man. The plan was fairly straightforward, and with Victor's help, could even be credible. All Victor had to do was play the part of concerned friend and solidify Erin's claim. "So, how do you know Dante?" Victor asked. "Through my grandfather," Erin replied. "Why do you ask? How do you know him?" Victor's hand subconsciously stroked his sternum, tracing the area once held by a hard scar left there from his last meeting with the demon. "I thought he was an evil that had to be vanquished. I was wrong. I met him 3,000 years ago in what's now France. We had a disagreement." Erin nodded. "He told me about you." Sudden realization lit up her face. "You're an angel," she breathed. Victor glanced at her and wondered. What did he say about me? How did his words color me? Erin shrugged. "He said you're an angel who tried to stop him in his quest. He said you're a good fighter and a vicious opponent." Victor felt his face flush. I was very angry then. He disappeared shortly after our battle, though. I thought he had died. When I found out he had resurfaced just recently, I sought him out to seek vengeance. When I found out he was back, that old anger was reborn in me. I never thought of how the millennium may have changed him. Erin couldn't suppress a chuckle. Her laugh brought Victor's attention out of his thoughts and back to her. "What amuses you?" he asked. "Oh, he's actually not as old as you think he is," she giggled. He was sent back in time, then sent back here when his work was finished. He disappeared because he no longer existed in that timeline." Victor nodded in understanding. It made sense. His meetings in heaven never made that clear. All Victor knew was that Dante was there one day, then gone the next. "So what's the plan then?" Erin inquired. Victor shook his head. "I'm not sure. What we're thinking about doing goes against all of my morals and personal standards. Plus, Stacy's my closest friend. Doing this would break her heart, and I would do anything to keep her from any pain." "Except let her continue to be with Dante," Erin added hopefully. If Victor was going to become spineless before even setting out, she was going to be rid of him soon. Victor shrugged in defeat. "I want her to be happy, and she's very much so with him. But I can treat her so much better than he can. I won't go gallivanting off so suddenly." Erin felt a bit of anger well up inside her. "He left to pay his last respects to my grandfather. Be careful what you say." "Oh, I apologize then," Victor offered. "I had no idea. How much longer does he have?" Erin looked away. "No one knows. We're all surprised he lasted this long after it got worse." "Well, what ails him?" Erin chuckled a bit. "Old age. Other than Dante, he's the last surviving orphan from the war. He's been sick a long time, but he just isn't as strong as he used to be." "Oh, my condolences." "So the plan then?" Erin asked, forcibly changing the subject. "I'm not sure. Do you have any ideas?" Tell her he's been unfaithful to her?" Victor almost laughed at the notion. "And how would we do that?" Erin shifted, taking on a more seductive pose. "Well, he did receive a letter from a woman before he left, did he not?" Victor shrugged. Erin sighed. "He did. It was from me. I sent it to him to tell him about my grandfather. He then met with me before leaving town at my side. I'm certain many of the townsfolk can testify to that. Victor nodded, the plan unfolding in his mind. And then I came all the way back to this place, Aaron continued, because I found out he had a woman here already. I couldn't, in good conscience, let our tryst continue, and I felt I must make his transgressions known to her. That, actually, sounds rather convincing, Victor applauded. But I think you should also tell her something that would make your haste more believable. Aaron smiled. She's also pregnant. Victor's shock was overpowering. He staggered into his chair and slumped into it. She's pregnant? Aaron nodded. I'm assuming she hasn't told you yet. I haven't had the occasion to speak with her recently. I've been busy with other matters around town, but she's carrying the spawn of a demon. I can't allow the possibility of that child growing up to be just like the rest of its kind. You're going to kill the child? Aaron balked. Victor's horrified visage calmed her. Of course not. We will succeed in our endeavor, and I will raise the child as my own. He will never know his heritage. He'll be raised as a human with no knowledge of his abilities or his true father. Aaron smiled. Well, then we better not fail. Stacy hummed a happy tune to herself as she went about her household chores. She had been so busy lately with her students and their work that she had been neglecting some of the regular cleaning around the house. Also, without Dante around to help out, the chores had begun to stack up. She paid it no mind, however, because it gave her something to do to pass the time. She missed Dante and was feeling lonely without him around. He had already been gone far longer than expected. But Stacy knew that he was comforting a friend, and that was good enough for her. Besides, she had survived the rest of her life without him. She'll survive a bit longer while he's away. Every now and again, Stacy would fiddle with the ring Dante had given her, toying with the notion of contacting him to talk. But she didn't want to take him away from his best friend's side. Gerard needed Dante more than she did at the moment, and she was content with that. Just as she sat down for a quick rest, Stacy heard a knock at her door. Sighing in defeat, she rose and answered the door. There stood Victor with some unknown woman next to him. Hey, Victor, Stacy greeted warmly. It's been a while. Victor smiled at her and said, Hey, Stacy. Might we come in? We would like to speak with you. Confused and a little worried, Stacy nodded. Sure, come in. She led them to the sitting room and motioned to the couch and chairs. Have a seat. Pardon my mess. I've been cleaning today. Oh, your home is beautiful as always, Victor comforted. He sat in a chair directly across from Stacy and motioned to his associate for her to sit as well. This is Aaron, he introduced. Aaron nodded a greeting to Stacy. Well, nice to meet you, Aaron. What's this about, Victor? She worked hard to keep the worry from her voice. Very seldom did Victor come directly to her home with such a somber expression of his face. It always preceded terrible news. Victor heard the worry in her voice and winced. He knew he would be breaking her heart with what he and Aaron were about to tell her, but it had to be done. He could not risk her child growing up to become an evil creature, especially after finding out what his father was to become himself. It's about Dante, he stated quietly. Stacy sucked in her breath and could feel her heart pounding. Has something happened? She was so distracted that she could not feel her ring warming up, indicating that Dante was trying to establish contact with her. Stacy felt a dull throbbing in her head and dismissed it as the beginnings of a headache. Erin placed her hand on Stacy's and tried to calm her, saying, He's well, but I have something to confess. Stacy looked at Erin, wondering what this woman had to do with Dante. What is it, then? She asked. Erin took a deep breath, making a show of trying to steady herself. He has been less than honest with you, I'm afraid. What do you mean? I've been in constant contact with him since he left. Stacy's eyes unconsciously went to the ring on her finger. Erin saw the look and realized that Dante must have enchanted the rings he and Stacy wore to allow them to communicate. What would happen if the ring were to be removed? She took her eyes off the ring and made eye contact with Stacy once more. I feel I must tell you the truth of what your man has been doing while away. I met him along a journey long ago, and I fell for his charms. Had I known that he was already spoken for, I would never have allowed myself to revisit those feelings. What are you talking about? Stacy demanded. Are you saying Dante cheated on me? Oh, I'm just as shocked as you, Stacy, Victor soothed. I've been keeping an eye on him since he first came here, and I knew nothing of this. Erin came to me just last night for help in finding you, so she could tell you what has happened. Stacy's head swam. She could not believe that Dante would be unfaithful at all. She did not believe it. Who was this woman to come to her home and spout lies about her beloved? Where is he now? She asked. Manhattan, Erin replied. He came with me to stay at my grandfather's side while he passed away, but took me to bed in the meantime. Stacy could not believe her ears. Her head pounded. She thought she heard Dante's voice in her mind. But he told me that Gerard was still alive. A lie, unfortunately, Erin stated. My grandfather passed away weeks ago. Dante has been staying ever since to comfort me. I had no idea that he had left you here. But he wouldn't, Stacy countered. She firmly believed that Dante was still faithful to her, but this woman's testimony was beginning to shake that confidence. Perhaps you don't know him as well as you thought, Victor offered. I know it hurts to hear this, Stacy, but it is true. I was keeping a secret vigil over him during his travels and saw him with this woman leaving the town. Stacy looked over to Erin, who nodded grimly. No. How can this be true? I'm having his baby. Erin gripped Stacy's hand tighter and summoned a tear to her eye. That is exactly why I made haste to tell you of his infidelity. That man would not make a fit father to any child. I wanted to tell you myself as soon as I knew, so you can make the right decision and leave him and move on to better things in your own life. Stacy searched Erin's eyes for the truth. Something felt out of place, but the throbbing in her head was too distracting. But there it was, some glimmer of false intent that seemed to shout at Stacy. You're lying, she stated flatly. Erin's soothing and heartfelt expression turned instantly to anger, and she gripped Stacy's hand so tight it hurt. She pulled her hand away and took the ring with it, drawing her short sword in the same motion. The movement was almost too fast for Victor or Stacy to react, but the angel had his sword at Erin's throat before she could complete her attack. What are you doing, Erin? He demanded. You want the truth? Erin hissed. Dante is dead. You probably felt him trying to contact you this whole time, didn't you? The look in Stacy's eyes told Erin everything she needed to know. She would continue the lie to its end and see if that worked. He was likely trying to speak with you one last time before the poison took hold, Erin spat. In shock, Victor lowered his sword, wondering what game Erin was playing. He kept quiet, however, thinking the mad woman had an alternate plan. I poisoned his food, Stacy, Erin continued. It was a slow-acting poison, so he should be dead right about now. Of course, since he's a demon, I wasn't entirely certain how much of the stuff I had to use, or if it would even work at all. No, Stacy whispered, denying the words. Tears welled up in her eyes and spilled over her cheeks. Why was this happening? Erin gripped the ring in her hand and looked hard at it, concentrating. She could feel Dante's presence in the ring. He was still trying to contact Stacy. Erin closed her fingers over the ring and smiled savagely. The last of his energy has run out. His magic no longer powers this ring. As she said those words, she watched Stacy slump to her knees and weep. She had put enough venom and force into her words to sound convincing enough. Stacy sobbed and shook, too distraught over the words to consider the truth in them. Without Dante, she was lost. While Stacy was on the floor, Erin saw her chance. She knew that the only way to make absolutely certain that this woman could never come back to find Dante was to kill her where she lay. She glanced at Victor, who seemed to be so overcome by Stacy's pain that he didn't notice Erin raising her sword to strike. Dante was talking with Gerard when he felt the gentle, pulsing heartbeat of his ring slow down almost imperceptibly, then speed up to rapidly thump on his finger. He stopped mid-sentence, stood and looked at the ring, worry creasing his forehead. What's wrong? Gerard asked. Dante wasn't sure. It didn't seem like the other times Stacy's heart rate sped up from exercising or from getting excited about something. It almost felt fearful. Dante? Dante focused on the ring and its connection with Stacy. She was there, but she was not letting him in. What was going on? He silently called to her, trying to get her attention, but there was still nothing. Why wouldn't she answer? He spoke her name aloud, hoping it would help. Still nothing. Dante? Gerard asked, gripping Dante's wrist. The old man was getting worried for his friend. Is something wrong with Stacy? I don't know, Dante whispered. Terror gripped him as surely as it must have been holding his beloved. I'm trying to contact her, but she isn't responding. Stacy, answer me. The pulsing in the ring came to a crescendo, then slowed as Stacy must have calmed somewhat. Anger, denial, and sadness emanated from the ring, however, and Dante felt that there was indeed something incredibly wrong. Then, for just a split second, the ring became cold, as if the connection was briefly lost. Dante could still feel a connection, though. Stacy, let me in. Tell me what's wrong. The pulsing grew rapid, more forceful. It grew hot on Dante's finger. Anger, heartbreak, fear, all mixed together in a confusing jumble. Something was going on wherever Stacy was, and Dante was powerless to do anything about it. Warmer and warmer the ring grew, until very suddenly its burning heat was snuffed out. The ring became cold, cold as the hands of death. Dante fell to his knees. She was dead. He knew it. The only way his ring could become so cold was if Stacy had died. And he knew that she could not have been alone. Something had happened to her. Someone was with her, and that someone had undeniably murdered her. Dante screamed in agonized pain, felt his heart rip apart, and knew that his life was over. Dante? Gwen asked timidly in the doorway. She had heard the demon scream and came running to see what the matter was. She had feared that her father had finally died. But Gerard lay in his bed, staring at Dante with tears in his wrinkled eyes. What happened? Gwen asked, worry in her voice. She rushed to Dante and held him in her arms, trying to calm him. Gerard shook his head, tears falling from his eyes. I don't know. We were talking and then he started calling to Stacy. I think something's happened to her. Dante shook the woman off of him and rose to his feet, his fists clenched so tightly his knuckles were white. Tears rimmed his red, puffy eyes. Black, smoky tendrils of darkness rose off of his body. She's dead, he said through gritted teeth. And that, my friends, was chapter 24 of The Demon. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a wonderful day.